Yo fellas, how you doing? Hope you oh shit. Yo fellas, how you doing? We are back. We're talking about the most overhyped fighter in every division. This is kind of similar to most overrated, but every MMA YouTuber under the sun has already done that type of video, so I thought I'll change up a little bit and try and get away with it. Either way, this is my opinion. This is from what I see, you know, what generally people are saying about these fighters, saying, oh, they could do this, they could do that, or, you know, gassing up their wins that actually aren't that great. But let's get straight into it. We're going to do one fighter from every division. All these guys are in the rankings. There are a few outside the rankings, but I thought keep it to some well-known fighters. So the first one I'm going to talk about in the flyweight division is Manel Kape. And I might get some heat for this one. Because obviously Manel Kape's coming off two crazy wins against Royval and Horiguchi, two nasty knockouts. He doesn't impress me, but he does. It's a really weird one with Manel Kape and me, yeah. The guy gets crazy knockouts, and I'm very impressed. But in the Horiguchi fight, he was getting dominated. Horiguchi, he got caught. He didn't get dominated, you know. It's like, fuck, Horiguchi was doing so well. And like Manel Kape, we know Manel Kape's not a strong grappler anyway. In the Makayev fight, and even in the Horiguchi fight, he was getting taken down easily and controlled on the ground for the first 2 rounds. Or round or so, until obviously he landed that shot. And because he's so powerful, he can get away with it because he only takes one shot, you know, to get the win. But it's just, I don't know, it just annoys me because I don't know, this guy he doesn't fight well, and he just finds the shot. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he'll win the title. I don't think he'll ever become champion. I don't think he's well rounded enough. I think you can get away with having just, you know, that one thing in your locker, which is that punch power. I think you can get away against guys maybe in and outside the top 5 like Horiguchi, Royval, but I don't think, like, I think Van would be able to avoid that. I think he's got a better boxing than Horiguchi and Royval. I think someone like Van would easily able to just piece up Manel Kape, keep moving and just avoid them shots. I think Pantoja, who's more dominant on the ground compared to Horiguchi, I think Pantoja would be able to get him down and find that submission and be more aggressive on the ground compared to Horiguchi. You know, I don't think this guy will become champion. The way guys are talking about him on social media, like acting like he's the next champ already or whatever, and he probably will get the next title shot. Whoever wins out of Van and Pantoja in September, Kape's probably going to get the next title shot, which he does deserve. I've got to admit, Kape does deserve it, but I don't think he'll win. I don't think he'll become champion. This is a bit of a weird one, and like I said, I know I'll get some heat for this, and this is a bit of a bad one, but I just don't see it with Manel Kape. I've watched a lot of his fights now, I just don't see it. I don't know. I don't see it. I've got nothing against him personally. Again, I've got nothing against any of these fighters. This is just strictly what they do in the octagon, but it's just, I don't know, man. I don't see it with Manel Kape. It's a bit like Ngannou. Ngannou's not very technically skilled, but he's so powerful. He'll just keep swinging. Eventually, all it takes is that one clean shot and you're down. It doesn't even have to be a clean shot half the time. And Manel Kape's a bit like that. He's a flyweight Ngannou. All it takes is one shot, you know. I mean, maybe that's why he could become champion, because he could get dominated for 4 rounds, and in the 5th round he lands a shot that puts someone out cold. I don't see it, and the way these guys talk about it on social media, in TikTok comments and whatnot, acting like he's the next champ or whatever, I don't see it. Maybe it's because I like Van and Pantoja more, but I don't see it with Manel Kape. I don't know about this one. Yeah, I don't know, a bit of a weird one to start off with. The next one we'll talk about in the bantamweight division, I think this is more of a I think a lot of people would agree with this one, which is Raul Rosas Jr. This guy's not that good. Like, compared to the other guys in the bantamweight division, he's not that good. How did he get into the rankings? Well, like, beating the ghost of Rob Font. Like, and it was a boring ass fight as well. Like, people forget how boring this guy can be sometimes. Like, he's a very dominant grappler, don't get me wrong, but he is boring. You know, and people forget how boring he is just because he does the chi wee wee thing. You know, I don't think he's that great. I really don't think he's that great. I wasn't impressed. I mean, Rob Font was one of the weaker ranked fighters in the UFC anyway, across all the divisions. So it was a nice matchup for Raul Rosas Jr. You could tell they matched him up there on purpose to try and get him into the rankings. Did he even deserve a ranked opponent? I don't know. He's had losses in the UFC before. I can't remember who. But this guy, he never wins impressively. I don't think he has many finishes either. This guy never wins impressively. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like, who's another good example? I was about to say Nathaniel Wood, but I actually like Nathaniel Wood, so I'm not going to diss him. But in that way, it's like, Farid Basharat, that's a good one. He keeps winning, but it's not really impressively. Farid Basharat takes his opponent to a 29-28 close decision. Yeah, he always gets the win, and it's, you know, It's obvious, but it's a close fight still. Raul Rosas Jr., they're not always close fights, but like, they're not impressive. He doesn't impress me. And I think people forget, and you've got these like nerds on TikTok, you just like gas him up because he says the chi wee wee thing. Like, that's 3 years old, mate. That's 3 years old. Grow up, alright? The chi wee thing is old. How old are you? 5? You know what I mean? Like, it was funny the first couple of times, and that's it. I don't know. I'll rate him. Who did he lose to in the UFC? C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez. That's what he lost to. Yeah. See, and then I don't see it with this guy. I think he's got very favourable matchups in his way to the rankings. He's fought guys like Ricky Tercios, Vince Morales, and he beat Vince Morales and then got a ranked opponent. Like, Colby Thickness beat Vince Morales easily as well. What was it, back in May? And Colby Thickness isn't close to getting a ranked opponent. I don't know. This guy, I just feel like he's overhyped by a lot of the guys and, you know, the 5-year-olds on TikTok who's still obsessed over the Chi Wee Wees thing. But in general, I don't think this guy beats anyone in the top 10 of the bantamweight division. I think there's guys even like lower ranked than him, like a Marcus McGee would give him a lot of problems in the striking department. I don't think he's that strong in the striking department. Obviously, like we know, he's a dominant grappler, but I don't see it with this guy at all. I think I don't see it. Like, the way people talk about him, or talked about him, sorry, before the Rob Font fight, I just think people need to chill out and realise he's not that good. Like, I don't think he beats many guys in the rankings. There's a lot of guys outside the rankings that he loses to as well. Ethan Ewing would do some despicable things to him. Absolutely despicable. Someone like Alexandre Duporius, like, you know, kind of like a composed power puncher, would do some problems to him as well if he could stuff the takedowns, which, you know, he's shown to do quite well as well. But Raul Rosas Jr., maybe this is a bit more a personal one, but I just don't see it. I don't see it with him. Moving on. Next one is the featherweight division is Aaron Pico. Alright, I know we haven't had much to go off of Aaron Pico. He's only had 2 fights. Obviously got knocked out by Lerone Murphy. And obviously had that win against the ghost of Pitbull at UFC 327. But the way people talk about this guy's striking, and don't get me wrong, it's good, but people need to chill out, alright? This guy's got good striking. Don't get me wrong, he's got good fundamentals in boxing. But the way people on social media talk about this guy's striking, it's getting out of hand. Pitbull in that fight was a punching bag. You know what I mean? Pitbull was not, he was an object that was standing still. He weren't moving around. He was just covering up, high guard, and just letting Pico pick off body shots, head shots and that. We haven't seen Pico in the UFC against someone who's UFC level. I know he's had a lot of wins in Bellator, PFL and whatnot, but those guys aren't as high level as the guys in the UFC. We have not seen Pico against someone in the UFC actually get off his shots and put combinations properly, who's like a good fighter. You know what I mean? Pitbull's Pitbull's just, he's an old Pitbull. Pitbull maybe 5-6 years ago, I think he would have given Pico a harder fight. Pitbull from April this year, he didn't do anything, and Pitbull's career is really coming to end. You know, it's not the same Pitbull it was that he should have been in the UFC about 10 years ago. Pitbull, but that's not a point. We're not talking about him. Either way, Pico, the way people talk about him in the comments, as if, like I said, Pitbull wasn't just standing there and accepting the punishment. Pitbull, after round 1 in that fight, he didn't put any out. He has really low output, and obviously I know that's because he's old, but really low output. Wasn't throwing any back, and just kind of like accepting getting punched. He wasn't really moving. There was no head movement in there. There wasn't much footwork either. He was kind of just standing still. If you watch the clips and even watch the whole fight from Pico and Pitbull, second and third round, Pico's able to tee off on him because Pitbull's standing still. Like, I don't know. I have to see more of Aaron Pico, but as of right now, people are gassing this guy striking up well too much. Pico's the best striker in featherweight, man. Pico's got, you know, like shut up. Volk's 10 times the striker he is because he's 10 times the kickboxer he is. He's 10 times more proven in the UFC against high level that he can put these combinations together. He can mix in the kicks and the punches together. Aaron Pico, I don't see it. And he got knocked out brutally by Lerone Murphy, who's someone I don't rate too highly either. Lerone Murphy was nearly on this list, but I thought at least he's got a few more UFC level wins, and plus Aaron Pico. People don't talk about Lerone Murphy the way people talk about Aaron Pico, so I thought I had to go Aaron Pico in this one. The way people talk about this guy striking, people need to chill out, alright? Chill out. Until we fight someone at a good UFC level who's not an old man, you know, chill out for now. Chill out for now. All right. I've got nothing against Aaron Pico. I just don't think his striking is as good as people say it is. Pitbull was a punch bag. You know what I mean? Of course he's gonna look good because Pitbull's accepting the position there. You know. Yeah, and also people are gassing this guy up, saying give him like top 5 opponents and whatnot. Chill out. The guy beat, like I said, the ghost of Pitbull. We need to chill out here. And got knocked out by Lauren Murphy. So you need to chill out. Moving on. Next one we got is Maurizio Ruffi. And I feel really bad putting this one on because I'm actually a fan of Ruffi. Yeah, let me put it out there. I'm a fan of Maurizio Ruffi. This is not a dig at him. I'm a big fan of Maurizio Ruffi. I love the way he fights, and I will be rooting for him against Arman Tsarukyan, even though I think he'll lose quite badly. But that's not the point. I do think this guy's a little bit overrated. I struggled here in the lightweight division. I really did struggle. There was a lot of guys. I don't think there's many overhyped, overrated. I feel like everyone in the lightweight division is either underrated or fairly rated. You know, everyone in the top 5 is fairly rated. You know, you've got guys like Paddy, fairly rated, maybe a bit underrated. You've got BSD, fairly rated, and you go down and got guys like Fiziev, Torres, you know, Dan Hooker, you know, the Moicano. All these guys are fairly rated, and aren't overhyped. But Maurizio Ruffi, I don't think his resume is that great. Obviously, the Fiziev win was a great win. Fiziev, we know how good of a striker he is. Actually, Fiziev's strike is a little bit overrated. Like, a lot of people going into this fight, and obviously Fiziev's last fight is, oh, he's secretly the best striker at lightweight. No, he's not. But Fiziev's still great, and that was a great win. He pieced Fiziev up really, really nicely. And that's tough to do. You don't see Fiziev getting finished like that too much. You know, Fiziev's been in some wars with Gaethje and whatnot, so to like finish him like that with that right hand was really impressive. But the Chandler win, people need to chill out with the Chandler win. It is Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler doesn't do anything in the UFC anymore, you know? Like, Michael Chandler doesn't beat anyone in the top 15 right now. That's a fact. He does not beat a single person in the top 15, and he loses to a lot of guys outside the rankings. Chandler does not have that anymore. People need to chill out about that Chandler win. Like, and I think his style almost makes people hype him up more than he should for that Chandler win, because obviously he hit the spinning wheel kicks and whatnot, and kind of like the step away uppercuts, you know, them kind of things. It looks really cool. So actually, you kind of forget it's against someone like Chandler who's easy to hit. Like, I know this is Ruffi's style. He fights kind of like that long, rangy. It is really cool to watch, you know, but I don't think you'd be able to get that off against someone like Arman Tsarukyan at all. I think he's going to get dominated by Arman Tsarukyan. And obviously, big holes in the grappling as well. Obviously, BSD proved that and completely dominated on the ground and got the submission quite easily when they fought back in the Paris card last year. But I think Tsarukyan's going to get it done even easier. I think when they fight, Tsarukyan's going to be able to get him down, ground and pound, submission maybe, who knows. But I hope not. I hope Ruffi's improves takedown defense by then, but even then I think Tsarukyan's too dominant of a grappler. But Maurizio Ruffi, I do think people forget his last win was against Chandler. Yes, it was cool, the spinning wheel kicks were cool, but Chandler was just running away the whole time. Chandler ain't got it anymore. He shouldn't have been in there, Maurizio Ruffi, at all. And it weren't surprising. It's kind of Ruffi was just too many levels above Chandler, so he was able to, you know, whip the tricks out and whatnot. And when he fought Benoit, he couldn't really get his tricks going, you know, couldn't really get his fancy punching going. I know they only fought for like a round and a half, him and Benoit, but you know what I mean? He wasn't able to get any of his stuff off because Benoit is at a higher level than Chandler and is a very pressure heavy fighter, and he wasn't able to get that off. And Fiziev actually hesitated a lot when they fought, and I think that actually played into Ruffi's hands. But I'm not taking anything away from the Fiziev win. The Fiziev win was an amazing win. You know, not many people would do that to Fiziev and put him away badly like that. So that was impressive. But the Chandler win, it's Chandler, alright guys, so we need to chill out. Moving on. I feel bad for this one because I really do like Ruffi. I like his fight style, but moving on. This one I've got a lot to say about. Well, wait, Michael Morales. I've got a lot to say about this one. The way people, and it's him himself. Where are you, buddy? Stop dressing up as Spider-Man on your Instagram. Stop it. Just stop doing that. Get in the octagon and fight. You're not getting a title shot for beating the ghost of Sean Brady with the knee pads. Like, what was that? November. It's been nearly a year. It's been like 8, 9 months, 10 months, whatever it is. Get back in the octagon. You're not getting a title shot. Flipping hell. A lot of these fighters think they get title shots for beating a guy who's like number 5 or number 6 in the rankings. No, that's not how it works. Not how it works. You can't not beat anyone in the top 5 and then get a win. I think Sean Brady actually was like number 4 or 3. In in the rankings. That's because he beat Leon Edwards, and we know what Leon Edwards is like nowadays. But I think, and Sean Brady, I heard some stuff about Sean Brady was injured in that fight. But Morales, he's just a clobberer. He is just the definition of clobbering time, and his resume is not that great. Before that, he had the Gilbert Burns fight. Old man Burns, that was old man Burns in the apex. Like, are we really gassing that win up? If Mike Malott can, put away Gilbert Burns, and no one's gassing him up for that, let's be honest, why should people be gassing up Michael Morales for it? There's only about a year between the fights, Why are we gassing up Michael Morales so much for that Gilbert? And who did he fight before that? Neil Magny? Old man Magny? Really? Magny's, he can't beat anyone in the top 15 really anymore. I don't think he's even ranked anymore, Neil Magny, but who's that? So many people have done that to Magny. Mike Malott. We're bringing him up again. Mike Malott did that to Magny, obviously, until he got finished in the third round, got completely dominated. But, I don't think these wins are impressive as people think they are. And the way that people talk about this guy on social media, in the comments or whatnot, saying, oh, he should get a title shot. Oh, yeah, it destroys Prates. Prates was smoked this guy. Prates were absolutely smoked this guy. Prates has fought a lot higher competition and dispatched them a lot more impressively. And Prates has shown that he's got more range of skills. What does Morales do other than clobbering time? Like, don't get me wrong, it's effective. But what's he done other than clobbering time? And like, he had some dodgy fights at the start of the year, like the thing, he went to a decision with Jake Matthews, Max Griffin, then and then goes up in competition, puts away guys like Sean Brady away in round 1, but I think Brady, like, I don't know. I was about to say Brady would beat him in a rematch if he was, like, not injured, but that's a bit stupid to say. Because this guy's just a weight bully. He's massive. He's absolutely massive for the division. I think that does help him because someone like Brady, who's actually he just looked tiny next to him. Brady looked tiny next to him. And I think this Brady win, he's living off this Brady win so hard. To get back in the octagon, where's him versus Prates, I think Prates is going to wait for a title shot. I think Morales is probably waiting for a title shot. Prates deserves it more than Morales. He's going to do out the two of them. But, like, what if, for example, we got Ian Gary versus Islam Makhachev this weekend? What if it turns out to be a war? Both fights take a lot of damage. Whoever wins, and the winner's going to be out for, what, another 8 months. Prates and Morales, you lads are not waiting out for another 8 months to get a title shot. Fight each other. We could have done this fight, Prates versus Morales, as a co-main or as a featured fight on this card. Why has that not happened? I don't know. Prates took no damage versus JDM. Morales hasn't fought since November and took no damage. I'm all mad at it because at least Prates has fought since then, and he's fought better competition. He beat a former champion JDM. Yeah, you literally beat a withered Sean Brady, and in November last year, and you haven't even. There's no news about being back in the octagon. I know apparently he's the backup for Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary this weekend. But just get him an actual fight. I don't understand this. I just think people gas this guy out well too much. He's just a clobberer. He hasn't actually shown much a range of weapons compared to someone like Prates or Ian Gary, So this guy's right at the back of the queue of the title shot list right now. You're not getting a title shot, buddy. You get back in the octagon. Moving on. Middleweight. I actually struggled with this one. I'm going with Carl Baraujo. This is a middleweight. It was a really hard one because I don't think there's actually too many guys that are gassed up too much or more than they should in middleweight. I don't think too many people gassed up Carl Baraujo. I think they used to, just because he's part of that Fighting Nerds team and whatnot. But I don't think this guy's that good. You went to a 29-28 decision with Derrida, who'd already, who'd been absolutely smudged by Brendan Allen, a few months back before that fight. You got completely schooled by Imavov, and Imavov was one of them that. Imavov is good. I'm not gonna say that. Imavov is good. But Baraujo, like, his resume ain't that great. Before the Imavov fight, he beat Cannonier, who's literally like 41 years old when they fought. I think, did he go to a decision with Cannonier? I think he went to a decision with Cannonier. Yeah, I don't think, like, in the Imavov fight, he didn't really do anything. He just didn't do anything. Imavov was his first top level opponent, and he just stood at range and didn't really do anything. Just got picked off by the jab and the 1-2 the whole fight. I don't think, did he go to decision with, yeah, he did go to decision with Cannonier. Like, and how did this guy get into the rankings? Paul Craig, You know, that was only a couple of years ago. Paul Craig, in the last few years, is that how he got into the rankings? You know, and before that, he goes for a lot of decisions a lot of the time. He hasn't had any crazy finishes other than the Paul Craig one. But like I said, that's Paul Craig in today's day and age. You know, then went to decision with Jared Cannonier, who's literally 40 years old when they fought. Then obviously lost to Mavov, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Why this guy keeps getting good matchups. And the way this guy talks, saying he was getting the DDP matchup recently, like before obviously DDP and Usman got announced, this guy was calling for a DDP fight. What? You were not getting a Dricus du Plessis fight. You beat Rainier the Ritter, who we know is not as good as we thought he was. Is not as good as you thought he was. When you had a boring 29-28 decision. Dricus just fought for a title, tried to defend his title. Yeah, he lost his belt, but he was just a champion. You're not getting a Dricus fight, buddy. All right. Obviously, Dricus fought Usman instead, but I don't understand. Maybe it's more him than the actual fans gassing him up. I think he thinks he's better than he actually is. Maybe. I don't know. I think this guy just keeps getting favourable matchups. The Rainier Ritter matchup was very favourable. Rainier Ritter was on one of the worst losses of his career against Brendan Allen. He'd fought 4 times in the previous year. The guy done so many weight cuts. So I think that was a very favourable matchup. And like I said, had a boring 29-28 decision with him. I think the whole thing was this guy was gassed up because he's one of the fighting nerds. But I think this guy probably is. He is good, but I think he's the weakest out of the fighting nerds. We're talking about, we've got Rufi, Prates, Gene Silva, and Barao. I'd say Prates is the best. I'd say Gene Silva's probably second, Rufi third, and Barao fourth. But I think there's quite a gap between Rufi and Barao. Yeah, I just don't think this guy is as good as maybe the UFC thinks he is. Alright, moving on quickly. We can get through this quick. Light heavyweight Khalil Roundtree. I think this is a pretty obvious one. The fact this guy was even booked against Ankalaev the other week is a joke. Guy got signed up by Yuri, who then lost to Ulberg. Got completely colded by Yuri, and then somehow gets the former champ who just lost his belt. Yeah, because that makes it. Roundtree should not be fighting anyone in the top 5 at all, and the guy's not even got that great of a resume at all. And people are calling for him to fight these top guys all over social media. Like, no, he should be fighting down the rankings by quite a bit. You know, someone like I don't mind him putting against like a Navajo Sterling maybe, because obviously Navajo Sterling just got into the top 5, and Jan Blachowicz wasn't maybe top 5 territory at that time, but. And they fought last couple of weeks ago. But I don't mind him versus Navajo Sterling, but I think he should fight lower down than that. Like, why did he pull out of the Ankalaev fight? Was it because of injury? I think it was. But like, this guy should never even book for Ankalaev. That is Dana White privilege right there. That is some Dana White privilege. This guy should never even book versus Ankalaev. I mean, before the Yuri fight, he beat Jamal Hill, or withered Jamal Hill. Like, you know. I don't really rate Jamal Hill that highly, but you know, I don't think Khalil Roundtree is as good as people think he is. And before the Jamal Hill fight, who's he fight? The only reason this guy's this high in the rankings as he is, he beat a Jamal Hill who we know wasn't that great to begin with. You know, the title fight against Old Man Glover. I know that's the same Glover who had beaten Jan and went to war with Yuri in the previous couple of years before they fought, but still, you know, and before he beat Anthony Smith, you know, he beat Anthony Smith, and Anthony Smith was only ranked that highly because he beaten Andreas. What's his name? Gustafsson, who was ranked highly, and you know, it wasn't actually that great at the time, you know. So this guy is ranked a lot higher than his wins suggest. This guy should not be the number 4 in the world. This guy should probably be like number 7, number 8, you know, based on his actual wins. And if you're going to talk, you know, the first 2 rounds against Yuri, you know, yeah, he won the first 2 rounds against Yuri, but I don't know, like, he still got colded, unfortunately. And in the first 2 rounds against Yuri, is like, he wasn't even returning over his punches. Like, he could have done a lot more damage on Yuri than he did, because we know Yuri's chin's not that great, and Khalil landed a lot of clean shots on him, but Khalil don't turn over his punches, so you know, he wasn't even close to knocking Yuri out. You know, I just don't. This guy should not be fighting anyone inside the top 5 or 6. You know, this guy should be fighting maybe a Volkan Ozdemir. A Volkan Ozdemir is coming off a win against Alonzo Menifield. Book Roundtree versus Ozdemir. You know, on a fight night, pay-per-view, something like that. Just book that. That's what I do. Keep this guy away from the top 5. He should not be anywhere near it. Moving on, last one we're going to talk about in heavyweight is Waldo Cortez Acosta. Alright, this may be a little bit of a controversial one because I know a lot of people rate him quite highly. I don't think he's as good as people think he is. I do not think he's a top 5 heavyweight at all. I think, I think the Volkov fight, I've got to talk about that after the Volkov fight. The way people were talking after the Volkov fight, saying it was a robbery, it was nothing a robbery. Volkov clearly won 29-28. There is an actual argument that Volkov won 30-27, quite clearly actually. People who were saying, there were so many people after that fight saying, oh, Waldo, it was a robbery and Waldo definitely won. No, he didn't. Like, you are actually such a dumbass if you thought Waldo won that fight. You do not understand the sport of MMA. Like, I don't understand, because Waldo landed 2 clean right hands in a round. Yeah, does that win in the fight? Does that win in the round? Because even though Volkov landed about 50 low kicks, 50 jabs, and like 10 body kicks, and that's massively exaggerated, alright? But you know what I mean? Like, just because that's not how scoring works. That's not how you win rounds. And like, we can look at this guy's wins. Like, he's got some good wins, but really, who's his ranked wins? Gaziev, Delija. And the only reason he's high up in the rankings, like number 5, is because he beat Derek Lewis, who should never have been that ranked that highly anyway. He beat Derek Lewis at the start of the year at UFC 324. Lewis should have never been ranked that high at all, And we know Derek Lewis. What's happened recently with him. So, and that gets you a top 5 ranking, beating Derek Lewis. And then you prove it against Volkov. You fight another guy in the top 5 in Volkov, and you get completely schooled on the feet. And that's what Wilder's meant to be so good at, on the feet. His boxing, that complete school by Volkov. I know Volkov's a tricky customer because of how tall he is and the long limbs and whatnot. But still, I think Blades gives him trouble. I hope Blades gives him trouble when they fight at UFC No Share. I think Blades will beat him. Blades got more experience against top 5 guys. We haven't seen Waldo's wrestling being tested too much since being in the UFC. I'd love to see Blades just put a pace on him and see what happens. I don't think Wilder's as good as people hype him up. People have that, I guess, gas him up with the whole Dominican Pappy thing, and it is funny. But like, I don't think this guy's as good. I don't think this guy's as good as people think he is. He should be nowhere near the top 5. Of beating old Derek Lewis, who basically quit. That does not get you a top 5 ranking, or it shouldn't get you a top 5 ranking. And maybe it's just because of how many people are calling robbery after the Volkov fight, which is just stupid. Never a robbery. People don't know what they're watching half the time, so I don't get about the MMA community. I hate the MMA community sometimes. But heavyweight, I'm going Waldo Cortez Acosta. I don't understand the hype behind this guy. And maybe he's going to prove me wrong against Blades. If he beats Blades, I'll take this all back. But I don't think he's that great. Alright, but I think that's the last one, boys. Thanks for watching. These are my most overhyped fighters in every division. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. Cheers for watching. Peace.